There we go. That's my browser. I made it work. Cool. So, Thaden, the Duke of Mania, has been revealed. And this is a pretty exciting card. It's a unique legendary, so you're not going to see it a ton. But a 6 magic, a 6/7 is definitely worth a look. And it says, summon this lane becomes Mania. Oh, Silentium! Thank you so much for the sub, man. Welcome to the Crab Shack. Welcome back 3 months in a row. Let's get some crabs in chat for Silentium. But I really like this card. I like unique legendaries with interesting effects like this. I think that Thaden, in particular, is pretty powerful. It says, at the start of each player's turn, if they have the creature with the highest health in this lane, they draw a card. And I think that's pretty exciting. What I like about it versus like cards like Ancano is that this isn't like going to win you the game. But this is pretty cool. I mean, drawing cards is cool. Drawing cards in yellow is kind of cool. Obviously, there's some appeal for Spell Sword. There's some Ring of Imaginary Might memes that might happen here. This is the pose I made when I was dancing. You may remember that. But yeah, I'm excited about Thaden, Duke of Mania. I'm wondering if we're going to get a Lithium card to hard counter Mania. What's up, Phil Spicer? Good to see you. Gurflex, good to see you as well. Heart of Lorcan, good to see you. 3 streams in 3 days is right. Alright, next we had revealed the Gatekeeper, and this is just like an auto-include in a lot of decks, which is kind of exciting. Also, absolutely beautiful art. 5 magic, a 6/6 guard, only 1 creature in this lane can attack each turn. We had this ability previewed when we saw the Cheesemancer, right? We need the Keymaster? Yeah, that's right, we do need the Keymaster. But yeah, I think Gatekeeper is just obviously good, right? I think even in an aggressive deck, it's overstated enough, right? Like, this lets you go Young Mammoth into Bleak Coast Troll into Gatekeeper. Just throw this guy in the Shadow Lane. It's pretty exciting. It's also obviously a great control card. And this alongside the twofer card, the unique Sorcerer Legendary, I think is pretty exciting for slower Sorcerer decks, which is an archetype I always wanted to play. You wish it wasn't unique? Yeah, I mean, if this was not unique, I think the stats would have to be toned down. So, Brooklyn Wren, good to see you. But yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of Gatekeeper. I think it's good in mid-range. I think it's good in control. I think it's going to be in a lot of decks. And this, continues the trend of powerful, unique legendaries we've seen so far. Which, I mean, I have to admit, like, I'm a fan of creating, like, most of the time, Anasi aside, like, that draw variance experience in games. So I'm excited about it. You don't like that Mary Wallstorm says you don't like that he has guard and is unique, but you complained your part on Reddit. The guard, like, does make it, you can't hide this guy, right? Like, if your opponent has a creature that can oppose it, a lethal creature, a bigger creature, they'll be able to turn that ability off that turn. So, I think in some ways it's, because this is the first time we've seen an ability like this that can shut down lanes, it's reasonable that it's kind of got that built-in protection, right? Alright, thank you for the update about the stream title. But yeah, Gatekeeper's great. We're going to see a lot of Gatekeeper in the future. Next up, we have Cloak and Dagger. And I believe that Cloak and Dagger is one of the most powerful cards in the game. Most powerful cards in the game. This is just so much value. I mean, think about every time you've had a Steel Scimitar in your hand, right? And you're like, well, I need that extra power here. Or I need that extra toughness here. So you play the Steel Scimitar. Every situation in which you would play half that card is now a situation where you can play. I mean, you just get so much more value. This is just an absolutely amazing card. This card is going to be everywhere. I don't know that it just replaces Steel Scimitar, but I think it easily could, and it would often be right because it's a better top deck than Steel Scimitar. It's better most of the time than Steel Scimitar, and it is like actually infinitely more flexible. This is just an absolutely back-breaking card that is going to screw up math for your opponents for the foreseeable future. It's absolutely nuts. It's so good. Do I think there will be split legendary cards for every class? I can't answer that question. Obviously, it's good with Relic Hunter. It is good with the 2/3 that buffs every item in your deck at the start of your turn by +1/+1. It's good with Arcane Enchanter. There's a ton of just really awesome things you can do with this. This is an incredibly powerful card. Ian Bits says you'll have to go back and watch this. Ian Bits, if you go back historically through all of my card ratings and stuff, I believe I'm usually pretty good. I think the only really miss I had in Morrowind was False Incarnate, which is still a powerful card. Is Items Battle Mage going to be good again? Probably not, but it'll still be funny. But yeah, Cloak and Dagger. It's my vote for one of the most powerful cards in the game. Alright, we have Syl, Dutchess of Dementia. I guess we should probably go back because that's real tiny. Syl, the Dutchess of Dementia, is a 6 Magicka 7/6, so the mirror of the Duke of Mania. Summon this lane becomes Dementia. And Dementia says if you have the creature with the most power in this lane, you deal 3 damage to your opponent. First of all, art's gorgeous. This card's really strong. I think it's... I don't know. I mean, I kind of go back and forth on this. Like, it's obviously like a powerful card. Where you want to run it's kind of debatable. I do like... I do find it kind of fascinating for mid-range Battle Mage because it turns on... It's, one of many cards that can turn on your Mighty Conjuring. Are the lane changes permanent? The lane changes are permanent. They can be overwritten. Like if you play Syl and then somebody plays Thaden, it'll overwrite it again. But, topping out an aggro list with this isn't a bad idea either. It's just a really powerful card. It's also very straightforward, I mean, like, these are sort of like iconic cards from the Shivering Isles expansion in Oblivion, so I like that they gave them pretty straightforward abilities. So lore fans can get in on the action if they want to build around it and stuff like that. But it's a really powerful card. It will see play. That's really all there is to say about that. Yeah, the ability happens on summon. Alright, now we have Drive Mad. Now, Drive Mad gets my vote for the coolest art in this set. Like, I think this is gorgeous, and I cannot wait to see this guy's head on fire with these demons and things once I get my premium versions of the cards. Drive Mad is a really fascinating card. I think that in every straightforward application, there are better options. As just removal, I think Fell the Mighty and whatever color you're pairing red with is going to have access to better removal. You run Drive Mad, I think, for the niche applications. I got to give a quick shout out to Drive Mad as being a common red card in Arena that kills Clockwork Scorpion, which is super relevant in Arena. Clockwork Scorpion is a great way to combat red decks, and red decks are kind of great in Arena. So if you can, this is going to have an impact on Arena as a common for sure. You cannot inflict self-breakthrough to an opponent. CVH answered that question recently. This is a card that you want to use, I would guess. Like, if you're jamming this in a deck, you probably are more interested in using this on your own creatures. Like, there are going to be times, of course, in any deck where you jam this, like, you're going to be like, well, oh, this is great, I'm going to use this to kill my opponent's creature, and that's awesome, because, like, it can do that. But there are a couple other things you can do. This is guaranteed turn 8 with a Falkreath Defiler, reanimate anything in your discard pile, which is not something, on an empty board, which is not something you've been able to do before. So I think that this is a card that Rage Warrior is going to want to look at. This is, another tool. It seems like every expansion gives tools to the Wounded Warrior, the self-ping warrior deck. That deck's never been good, but, like, eventually it has to reach a critical mass of cards that you want to play this in. Although 4 Magicka for this effect is, probably not what that deck wants to be doing, because I think fundamentally that's a pretty aggressive deck. Yeah, it's an interesting card. Whether or not this sees play as just removal kind of depends on well, obviously it could just be that the meta is filled with more creatures that don't kill themselves when you target Drive Mad then do kill themselves when you target them with Drive Mad, and so Drive Mad is just not viable as removal at all. Day one, I'm gonna play this on my own Black Dragon to see if it banishes Black Dragon from my opponent's deck. That's something I need to know. Yeah, this does trigger Slay. You know, I don't know. I mean, it does trigger, you know, it does trigger the ward breaking abilities on Breton Conjurer. I'm not sold on this card yet as just removal. I think its applications are deeper than that and a little more interesting. It's probably worth jamming it in a deck that could like a mid-range Control Crusader or something like that. But see, even then that's my concern, right? Like, Archer has access to Leaf Lurker, Finish Off, stuff like that. Warrior has access to... Warrior is the class that, like, a Control Warrior deck is the class I think is most interested in this, but a Warrior has access to Doomcrag shenanigans. And Mummify, you know, stuff like that. Battle Mage has access to all the blue removal. Crusader has access to Casting at a Time, Javelin. I mean, there's more yellow removal than is even played. And in certain circumstances, it's going to be worse than Fell the Mighty. I mean, if it turns out that, like, everything Fell the Mighty could kill is a creature that Drive Mad could kill, then it could just replace Fell the Mighty, but there are going to be situations where it doesn't work like that, unfortunately. Alright, so this is not in English, but as I understand it, the way this card works is... Unstable Madman is the 2 for 3. It says at the end of your turn, Unstable Madman gets +1/+1. Then if he has 5 power or more, changes into Unstoppable Berserker, who is the guy on the right, and says at the breakthrough at the end of your turn gets +2/+2. Now, the way that buff abilities have historically worked is, like, let's say you slap an item on something or you give something +1/+1. When it transforms, it keeps those buffs. So, I'm pretty sure this transforms into a 5/5 that just gets +2/+2 at the end of turn instead of +1/+1 until end of turn. Like, that's the only change. It'll be a 5/5 still, it becomes a 7/7. In a lot of cases, this is going to be better than Awakened Dreamer, which I think is a pretty playable card in a lot of decks. The breakthrough is relevant. I mean, it's completely fucking insane in Arena. I think that's fair to say. You know, it's just a really good card. It's a 3/3 for 3 that gets better. If it doesn't get removed, you're going to have a good time. Yeah, I'm about 90% certain this keeps the buffs when it transforms, because werewolves keep buffs and items and stuff like that when they transform. Just a remarkably strong card. You know, it's the self-growing cards are interesting. It almost feels like a concession that, like, Pilfer is a terrible ability. Yeah, it's real strong. It will see play. It's a very straightforward card, very aggressive. Ian Bits, I think that it just transforms into a 5/5, and the beginning of the end step in Magic terms, trigger has already happened, so it doesn't get +2/+2 again. Alright, now we have Ghost Fanatic. And Ghost Fanatic is a card that some people are going fanatical over. It was just revealed a couple hours ago. I think Ghost Fanatic's a pretty strong card, but I don't think it's nearly as nuts as a lot of people seem to think it is. I think that Ghost Fanatic is okay in tokens, but the tokens deck is still going to have the same problem it always has, which is that it just runs out of cards. And if anything, this just accelerates that, because you're running another 3-drop that you're going to drop early, and then you're going to have, you know, what, top decking on turn 5? Or by turn 4. You know, it's not bad in Dwemer. In fact, you know, where you care about neutral kinds of stuff. It gets a buff from, you know, it can get buffed by the +3/+3 and guard guy, which is relevant. That's a really strong card. It's one of the reasons to play neutral cards. But I think that the decks that might want to take a look at this are decks that don't care about, you know, the fact that they're vomiting their hand on the board, or the decks that make slightly favorable trades but still retain board presence. And I'm thinking of Mid Sorcerer and Halalu in terms of that. So, like, it's the kind of card that I'd try out in there. I think Halalu wants it more than Mid-Sorcerer, too. But Halalu's ability to just continue to churn out cards is sort of well documented by this point, and Ghost Fanatic's the kind of card that you could play in a deck like that and not care so much if you get hit with an Ice Storm. You know, it's not a bad card. It's definitely powerful to a degree, but I don't think it's like an auto-include in every aggro deck. And if it is, it's just, you know, time to run Ice Storm. Halalu is the only deck that I would immediately jam this in, though. And if my Token's opponent wants to trade 3 tokens, like, part of the reason Tokens works is because of Pit Lion and, like, buffs, like, cards that individually buff other cards having, you know, having a wide effect because of the board you have. If on turn 3 or 4 you're sacrificing multiple creatures to power out a Ghost Fanatic, like, you're going to end up losing, you know, the value of a Divine Fervor later. It just doesn't seem great in Tokens, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but I just... It's only a 3-3. If it was a 3-4, I think we'd be having a totally different conversation. But I'm not super sold on this card. Finally, we have the most recently revealed card, which is Tiny Dragon. This card is fucking great. I think a lot of the time this is going to be better than Skaven Pyromancer. Skaven Pyromancer is a really good card. That's what they said about Mudcrab Merchant. I revealed Mudcrab Merchant, and I said it was the best 1-drop in the game when I revealed it. Okay, so obviously this card is completely nuts with Doomcrags. You know, I mean, like, Doomcrag Vampire and this are BFFs. It's going to spray fire all over the place, and it's going to be amazing. It is, you know, a dragon, which is relevant for a lot of things that don't see much play. You know, I do like that we're seeing more dragons because we do have the Dragon Tribal Stuff Matters cards, which are powerful cards that just don't have a lot of good dragons to play alongside them. They did edit out, between the time that Dragon Tamer Blade, who revealed this card, first revealed it, and the time that the card itself got revealed, they edited out the front 2 legs of this dragon, and I think he actually looks a little awkward without him. Doesn't go with the lore, there's no tiny dragons. I mean, it's the Isle of Madness, dude. There's whatever we want. Yeah, I mean, you can combo with Fallen History Reaver. That's true. That's a 10 Magicka one-sided Dawn's Wrath. Fallen History Reaver is, you know, again, a powerful effect on a card that sees 0 play. But yeah, I mean, Tiny Dragon's good. Tiny Dragon's good. You know, any effect that only affects one side of the board, and in this case you don't even have to work hard to make it happen, is good. It's a 1/1 for 2, which is not great, and red control is in an interesting place in this game. Like, it exists, but yeah. I'm going to be playing this card because I think it's super cute. I'm looking forward to the fire coming out of its mouth with the premium set I bought, but yeah, that's the card. Obviously just straight upgrade in Doomcrag. Just straight upgrade in Doomcrag Warrior. I mean, because, like, I've played quite a bit of Doomcrag Warrior, and there are times where the right move is to play Skaven Pyromancer into a Doomcrag lane. It feels kind of shitty. Tiny Dragon's cheaper and better at that. And then I guess we should talk about the card I revealed, since I didn't actually talk much about it. This is Hulking Scalen. Hulking Scalen is adorable. His dad was a swamp monster. He is applying for the prestigious TV show Shivering Isles Next Top Swamp Monster. You know, this card is very, very, very straightforward. I think that, like, the best constructed application for this is in a mid-range ramp deck, because it is hard to kill. You know, in particular, like, Telvanni and Tribunal have a really tough time killing this. It's huge and it's fun. You know, it will kill people. You know, if it had Regenerate, it'd be amazeballs. But, you know, the removal that does hit it, like Dawn's Wrath, costs less than it. If they don't have that, you know, you could have a good time. I've seen a lot of comparisons to Iron Atronach, but I think that I think this is generally better than Iron Atronach, although Iron Atronach obviously has guard. I think that, like, you're playing them in completely different circumstances. Like, you're going to play Hulking Scale. Like, so to have success with Hulking Scalon, you're going to ramp into it and kill someone with it pronto. A lot of times, the function of Iron Atronach is, oh man, I just locked down this lane for the rest of the game. GG. Mid-range ramp what? Telvanni, Tribunal, Sorcerer, Scout doesn't exist? Well, I mean, like, everything you want to play exists. Hulking Scalon's Achilles heel, 10 tiny dragons. Tell you what, man, if somebody makes a video where they use 10 tiny dragons to kill a Hulking Scalon, I will find a way to give you a lifetime sub to the channel. Basically, you need to silence this card with Earthbone or Shadowfen. Yeah, removing this is generally going to be a 2-card at least proposition. Hollow Death Priest target practice. Yeah, that's a, it's a giant creature. It will get affected like that by things.